is intended for mature, open-minded audiences only. If you are easily offended, we suggest you turn this wacky shit straight off. He works hard for the money.
Do.
Sarah told me you were having a fun ride home earlier today.
Oh my fucking God, dude.
I always forget to look at stories on Facebook.
No, I never
Instagram.
fucking post them. I just happened to post that one. And for some magical reason, my child has gone from sweet, innocent little guy to motherfucker. And the blink of an eye, he hit terrible twos about 2 weeks ago, and it's been fucking terrible. I'm just shell-shocked about it. I'm like, we're exhausted, and he's just angry all the time. He comes home, and he's like, pizza! And I'm like, you want me to make you pizza? And he's like, pizza! Hungry! So I'm like, cool, I'll make you a pizza. So I can make him a pizza, put it in front of him. Don't want it!
Don't expect that to go away anytime soon. The kids are still doing that with Sarah. It's like, they'll absolutely proclaim what they want for supper. She'll make it. Put it right in front of them. I don't want it. It's like, what are you to do? Do you force them to eat? It seems wrong to force them to eat, but it also seems wrong to let them go to bed hungry. So what do you do?
Yeah, here's a vitamin.
Yeah, that's not a bad call. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, they can drink protein shakes or eat protein bars all day long. They never seem to get tired of that. But
I give him those fruit pouches that have all the nutrients in them. He likes those quite a bit, but it's not real food. It's not... heavy on the tongue.
And it's not good. It's not a good practice to get them used to just shakes and
sugar.
bars. Yeah, even if it does have vitamins and protein.
Oh, man. I tell you what, I got a big drink. I just rolled a joint. I don't think I'm going to work tomorrow because I think we're getting the snow fucking blizzard. It's going to have one of those nights, guys. I think we're going to have a good show.
I think so, too.
Snow pockets.
I'm already sipping on it's a Mexican beer, and it's accidentally in honor of the first story that I was going to bring tonight, and that was just a week after our show on people dying on stage or otherwise performing. Mexican wrassler La Parka just died from injuries that he sustained during an accident in the ring. That accident was in October, but he got fucked. So he was supposed to run off of the mat, leap over the ropes, and just tackle an opponent that was, standing outside the ring, as they do. But they think his foot kind of got tripped up on one of the ropes as he was launching over, and he just missed his target and just slammed right into the steel divider. They have the little separation dividers.
Yeah, the gates, right?
That separate the audience from the performers. Mm-hmm. And that goes right into the concrete floor, and he basically hit the corner. So part of his head hit the steel beam, the rest of his face hit the concrete floor at a pretty good clip, and he was immediately paralyzed.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Did you see it? Did you look at the video?
I did watch it, just so I could have a better understanding of it to explain it. And it's pretty brutal. They had to rush him into emergency surgery just to drill a hole into his skull to reduce the swelling in his brain. And he hits the fucking deck fast and hard. He's flying toward the dude as you would, and with all that strength and speed, that's what he head first into fucking concrete. And the opponent that he was supposed to hit immediately knew, was like, wow, you didn't just barely miss. He missed by a couple feet. So he knelt down next to him to see if he was okay, and immediately saw that he wasn't. Now, they did manage to stabilize him, and for a couple of months it seemed like he was actually improving to some degree, but then his kidneys started shutting down. Too much damage to the brainstem. It just wasn't able to function to keep all of his organs, knowing that he was alive. His organs were like, oh, I guess we died a couple months ago. Things aren't quite right. Holy they probably would have just started shutting down one by one. But he died on January 11th. So here's to you, La Parka. Technically, La Parka too. The Mexican wrestlers often live forever as new athletes take over the role. Someone else steps into the mask, like El Santo, of course. I think there's been a dozen of those at this point. But, we all know what wrestling is in the professional circuit, and yet people do die. It's a fucking crazy thing that you're doing with your body up on that mat. So one more grim from last week. I got a good feedback.
Now we
on
need
that
to
show.
have some kind of story about some kind of fast food or something.
Yeah, I don't have anything ready to
Yeah,
go.
what's the balance?
But
Tell me about Twinkies.
I did
Come on,
get,
do
We
something.
must have fair and balanced discourse.
I think it's a good way to do it because I had fun doing it and I got good feedback on the show. So I'll do a grim and pleasant episode from time to time. It's only going to get worse, though. You know, the grim will have to get worse, but then the pleasants will have to get better. And I got a few ideas already cooking. But anywho, tonight will be a news roundup, my favorite. I believe it's my favorite thing that we do on a regular basis. Just gives me more time to shoot the shit. You know, I'm not always just sifting through notes and trying to remember how to tell the story or whatever. So we kick back. I'm going to light me a cigar here in a bit. It is a Mexican. It's a Mexican cigar, which I don't know if I've had. I've had me some Cuba Dubes and mostly Nicaraguan, Dominican Republic. I am not impressed with Cuban cigars, I got to say. Is someone trying to marinade? I almost said.
It sounds like a
serenade or something.
Little serenade.
I thought that's where you're going.
Yeah.
Nice. Ole, indeed. R.I.P. La Parca. Very un-Mexican sounding name. I could use a La Parca in here right now. Holy shnikes, it's cold. 18 degrees. We do get a little colder, but not much. We sometimes get down to those sub-zero temps, but for us, this is about as cold as it gets. How's things over your neck of the woods, Chris? Are you avoiding the icy roads?
Yeah, it was bad taking my kid to daycare today. I was sliding down a hill. I was like, fuck this. I should have just stayed home.
Yeah.
But I think, like I said, tomorrow, we're supposed to get the brunt of it tonight. John Mark, I'm sure you're in the same boat over there, right?
Well, I stayed home. I worked from home today, and I was seriously considering going to work tomorrow. But we'll see. Like, if it dumps more snow, then that's probably going to be a no.
Yeah.
But if it doesn't, and it's not like, I don't know, do you know what the temperatures are supposed to be like? Because, Jesus, if it freezes, it's going to be like a sheet of ice out there.
I don't know, but I know we're supposed to get 2 different fronts of snow, one tonight and one tomorrow.
We'll see what 5 o'clock in the morning brings.
I think 5 o'clock in the morning it's going to feel like this bed's pretty warm.
Yeah.
I'm going no damn where.
Yeah, we're lucky. We're not getting any of that snow on the side for some reason.
Wow, that's abnormal.
Yeah,
no,
we'll be feeling it come summer.
Oh, I'm sure.
Smoke again.
The fires. Yeah.
It's an every year thing now. We got off pretty light last year, but we still had some. There's always some cooking around. But speaking of which, somebody messaged earlier that there's a big rainstorm approaching Australia, so hopefully relief has come at least to a big port. That's a huge country.
Which is, I thought it was, it's fantastic news. But
sure.
I thought it was ironic because we were joking about, HAARP.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they just need to send them a rainstorm.
Yeah.
Oh, you guys, do you think that we caused it?
I think so, yeah.
Someone at HAARP is listening to the show like, why didn't I think of that?
I think James Franco
Stupid.
immediately got on the phone to HAARP. And,
Yeah, totally.
Listen, guys, it's it's HB podcast here. We got a good suggestion for you. How about instead of making people miss the Nata Surf concert in Seattle tonight due to sheets of ice, why don't you put out the fires down in Australia? Yeah, what does your gut tell you on that? Do you guys believe that we could have the technology to manipulate weather? And if so, how do you think it would be used, if not for something like this?
Personally, I don't think so.
Don't think we're there yet.
But, however, here's the question, though. If they did, so you would think that if somebody had the ability to manipulate weather to basically do whatever they wanted it to, they could. I would think that more people would know about it and it'd be like, "Hey, guys, don't worry about the climate change because we got this."
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
It's on lockdown unless they're causing it. What?
However, like when we see things like whole entire continents basically being on fire, you would think that they would do something about it. However, if we ascribe the motivations to these people, they would probably continue to not obviously use their powers for good. And you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, that's the question: is how would
so
they
it's
use
expose
it?
themselves? It's like, oh, we have this power to do this, but we're not going to do it because if we did it, then people would know we could do it.
Yeah, for sure.
Well,
I mean, that's a very valid reason for them to not do it. Go ahead, Lau.
Well, there's also the belief that people could will things. Like a lot of people, especially like in syndicates, they I'm not going to say anybody, but like coast to coast, but like they used to sit there and think about like had everybody that was listening concentrate, and focus, and will things to happen.
They had some pretty amazing results with those experiments, if I remember.
And it was, but it seemed like it was a collaboration. Okay, you say that 10 times fast.
Or once.
A lot of people,
One time slow.
willing,
We're dicks.
willing such a thing to happen, to manifest out of just positive willpower. We'll say.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny because I'm a pretty practical guy when it comes to most things, and yet I still feel like there is something that can be achieved by concentrating or meditating or praying or whatever it is. It's different depending on your belief system, I suppose, but it's all the same type of thing. It's all a play on meditation, and if it's aimed at something, I feel like we all know the powers that, I mean, not like in a crazy like cosmic or psychic energy level, but just a very like practical ground floor level where you're in the room with somebody and just the energy that's coming off of them, that you can feel it. Maybe they're angry or they're flirting with you, whatever it is. There's something we can pick up on, and it's always hard to to nail it down. But imagine if 1,000 people are like trying to put toward the same thought toward one thing. Like, can you imagine being in an arena and you're up on stage and you're doing an experiment where you want everybody to like think one feeling or emotion or something towards you? That'd be an interesting experiment too. Like, that'd be a powerful thing on some level, even if only in your own head. It's knowing that all those people are looking at you. But
I think we've actually all been there, like been to a really badass concert and had like some badass ballad or something, and you feel the energy. It's powerful.
Yeah, we have these things that are happening almost like radio waves all around us. So who's to say that those can't be tuned or focused on one region? We don't know how anything fucking works. We don't know what anything is. So why not try it? But yeah, I mean, if HAARP does have the capability of, or anybody has a capability of manipulating the weather, there's a million reasons why they wouldn't let us know about it. But
I think you just figured out why Keith Richards is sold.
Good old
he's beating off of it, man.
Yeah. Ooh. Well, Chris, what about you? Do you feel like we have the capability to manipulate weather?
I mean, there's got to be something like, I don't, my science isn't strong on any level, but I thought there was something about salting the clouds or something like that to make it rain, or putting iodine in there.
Cloud seeding, but there has to be a certain amount of moisture already present for that to do anything.
I remember one of my favorite conspiracy theories.
Focused.
Yeah, I remember one of my favorite conspiracy theories was during Chernobyl that Poland or somebody went and seeded the fucking clouds so they would rain before it went into their country or something like that, and I always really captured my imagination. But no, I don't think we have that technology yet, but man, it would be really fascinating to think about what's coming in the future.
I guess what the question would be, if we believed that if they did have it and they wouldn't use it to keep it a secret, it's like, what would they use it for? War is one thought. I mean, you could wipe out an entire village in the Middle East, wherever we're focusing our shit, with some sort of cataclysmic thing. But then what I like about this idea is they would have to use like what's around them. Like, if we were going to war with Florida, it would make sense to whip up a hurricane. But in the Middle East, it might be sandstorms, and it's an interesting thought just in terms of like, as weaponized weather. That is an intriguing thought, and I promise you, all of the most powerful governments have been looking into weaponizing the weather, probably for as long as we've had any technology. How could we do that? Can you imagine harnessing? I mean, it's like having a little bit of the power of God, just like the atom bomb made. Yeah, go ahead, Lo.
I just always thought of that, having that kind of resources and that power to do something like that. It would be, and obviously it's, it's a power greedy thing, but like, I've always thought it'd be way cooler for somebody just to take it, to use it to like, I don't know, bring back the deserts, into oases and stuff like that, make it habitable for people to live in certain places that haven't been habitable to live in centuries.
Well, here's the thing that would happen, though, and we do this when we start getting cute with technology, is that we would start doing things like that, forgetting that the entire ecosystem of this planet is something that happens slowly over eons, and to quickly and abruptly fuck with that is going to cause some sort of cataclysmic outcome. I mean, look at something as simple as inventing tractors caused the Dust Bowl. For eons, these Midwest, central United States plains were covered with grass. The winds and the tornadoes and all that has been blowing through there forever. All we did differently was we realized, wow, we can farm and farm and farm and farm. And all of a sudden, these little compartmentalized ma and pa farms became acres and acres of farm, and it was nothing but dirt. And guess what happened when those familiar winds came whipping through? Suddenly, it was one of the greatest disasters that America has ever seen. That was just from inventing tractors and not doing the math that we're about to fuck up a massive chunk of the geography in this country. Maybe we should think about that. And maybe someone did. Maybe there were naysayers. I'm sure there were a few, but talk about a live and learn situation, man. The Dust Bowl was fucking disastrous. Like, that was the era where if you lost one or two kids, you made it through okay. Wow. It's like, people were harder back then. And holy shit, listening to like Woody Guthrie songs on the Dust Bowl days and reading any of that shit, anybody that survived that and lived through it, I can't imagine it being much more miserable. You were breathing the sand. People were dying from that alone. The sand was cutting through people's flesh. We've all been stuck in a windstorm, and you have that little bit where there's like a little bit of sand smacking against your face, and how irritating that is. Imagine that for months and months. And there's no way to cure it. It took them forever to even figure out that it was agriculture that caused it. It was probably much further down the road after the fact. And then they realized, we have to constantly irrigate these fields. We can't have, 5 square miles of dust when it comes to wind season. So, but yeah, it's an interesting thought that we could actually change. We could bring back the Garden of Eden.
You guys, I had a story I wanted to talk about with you.
Zip.
Zip. Okay, we've all been following along with my my favorite scandal-laden, jail time ready story, Operation Varsity Blues. Who's familiar with that one? You may not know it by name, but I guarantee you know it.
I don't know it.
It's the college admission scandal with Aunt Becky from Full House. It's called when they were busting them, they called it Operation Varsity Blues. Was the last name Huffman or something? She was involved. She's an actress from some show.
That's right.
And
Felicity Huffman. She's married to William H. Macy.
Well, this story just fucking angered me because we're already talking about the most privileged of privileged. Like, she's not just an actress from Full House. She's married to Giuliano Massimo, the fucking Massimo brand clothing designer. So they're billionaires. They have a fucking ton of money. And for those of you, I'm sure if anyone's turned on the news in the last 6 months, you've probably seen this story, but they paid someone basically to get their daughter into college. They even took fucking photos of her in a rowboat, and the guy photoshopped it to make it look like she was on the row team. I may be getting some of those details wrong, but something about that, very close.
Sounds like good parenting.
Yeah, no kidding. So, and her daughter's fucking influencer on Instagram, and just has her own YouTube channel about makeup, and makes more money than all of us combined doing just that. So
insane.
Yeah, so when I read stuff like this, I can't help but laugh and also be a little more bitter. Now, she is the only one of this group that didn't take a plea. She's pleading not guilty instead of pleading guilty and just getting a slap on the wrist. Felicity Huffman went to jail for 14 days, I think. But they're saying that Lori Loughlin's going to go away for much longer because she pleaded not guilty and fought the whole thing. And so here's the fucking story that came out last week that made me shiver and laugh at the same time. Lori Loughlin hires prison expert to help her survive behind bars. Actress Lori Loughlin has hired a prison expert. Yeah. A prison expert to teach her how to survive behind bars if she ends up doing time, according to reports. The 55-year-old Fuller House star who awaits trial for charges in the massive college admission scandal is learning the ropes about life and etiquette in the big house.
You don't drop soap.
That's what I'm talking about. Like, dude, she's already had such a privileged life. Like, she should learn she can't drop the soap the hard way. Like, fuck that bitch. Fucking livid about this.
And you don't like that she's getting a cheat sheet for prison.
Yeah.
But come on, we're not talking. She's not going to go to, like, Rikers Island or anything, right? She's going to be, like...
Oh, I'm sure.
Shacking up with fucking... who's that guy? White SUV.
OJ? He's been out for a long time, bro. Remember?
Like, he did go to a formal prison, didn't he? Didn't he go
I have fucking no idea.
I don't really know either. No.
But yeah, she had her prison experts teaching her how to not look people in the eye when she passes them and things like that. I'm not kidding. It's in the fucking story. How to make a shank out of a toothbrush.
Yeah. All I can think of is the fucking Office episode. Like, how do you get... Well, obviously you got to go to prison, but how do you get a job as a prison?
That's a fucking great question.
What would you even call
consultant?
It?
A doing time consultant.
Here's what you can expect.
None
of it's good.
Specialist.
Yeah, but it would depend on where you're going. And again, this is as white collar of a crime as it gets, I suppose. And I can't imagine, nor would you really want to see someone doing this kind of crime, bunking up with a murderer or even, someone smuggling drugs. I feel like they're going to be in a pretty posh prison as far as prisons go. But here's the thing. Miss Massimo would probably look at a Motel 8 as being prison. So anything out of the life that she's used to living is going to be detrimental. But I just can't wait until she comes out and she writes like her story, My Time in the Clink. It'll be like milk that shit
for her career. Yeah.
I'm really surprised it's not a TV show, to be honest with you.
The full Big House.
Why is anybody in this family worried about their daughter getting into one school or another? Isn't she going to be just fine? I guess it's just the ultimate in spoiling your kids.
Well, it's probably lineage, like your half your family went to that, college, so you want to.
It's all about status.
Yeah, it's a real thing.
Aren't you glad you're not a status type folk? Like Christopher brought up
legacies with it.
A new term that I've been hearing a lot lately, and that is influencer. And it's like, I love that we have coined a word for people who can't really do much, but they want to be famous and they want to be doers. So without really doing anything, they'll just try on some makeup, try on some clothes, just talk about... we could call ourselves influencers, I suppose. We talk about things. People listen. Somewhere...
Yeah, here's my thing. It's about how... It's always about being attractive. Do you know what I mean? I've never seen an influencer that wasn't appealing on the eyes. So it's like...
What are you saying, Christopher?
I'm just saying, like, it's not a fucking thing. It's just being hot on the internet. I fucking hate it.
Well, that's the thing. Is like, why can't we just say this person is a YouTuber or blogger or vlogger, whatever? To use the word influencer is so smarmy and self-serving in a way like that. No, we are. This is a thing now. We're influencers. It's like, finally we have a word for all this uselessness, and I'm fine with it. I got no problem with people subscribing and watching makeup videos and these unboxing people. Good Lord, I was just reading a story about I can't remember what the YouTube channel's name is, the guy's name, but he's one of these guys that were in, I gather he was in on the unboxing thing pretty early on. And for anyone that doesn't know that, they just unbox shit. But apparently, this whole thing started with, I'm going to order this new Batmobile model from blah, blah, blah. Well, I'm going to unbox it and pull it out. Here's all the pieces. Here's all the parts. I get the satisfaction of that. I think it's kind of odd that it's become this big of a deal. But similar thing. This guy is he's a millionaire from unboxing things on YouTube. Because what happened, he got all of these fans and all these followers, and then people with products started sending things to him saying, please unbox this and review it. All of a sudden, he's an influencer. He's unboxing things, and fairly powerful, because he could say yay or nay, and that could really be detrimental to a company, or it could launch them into the next stratosphere. So this guy has real power. But one of the
is the when you have that many people, I mean that's what kind of is wrong with society these days, is the fact that people, back 50 years ago, they used to go to church and worship somebody. The higher power, somebody that you look up to, or like a baseball player, something on the lines of that. You had a hero. And nowadays, all it is like people look up to these influencers in the same eye, because they have a lot of money, they have a Tesla. Oh, they hang out with like Justin Bieber, you're my hero, it's just, I don't know.
Well, and then everyone thinks they can do it. I mean, more so than becoming a baseball player or becoming a rock star. I mean, you definitely have a bigger chance of becoming an influencer on YouTube. So it's very appealing on that level, and everyone thinks that, wow, this guy's a fucking millionaire from opening shit that he orders on Amazon, and then eventually people start sending him. And so now you got 1 billion people trying it. Same thing with the makeup tutorial. I know about 30 people that do makeup tutorials. I think they're having fun with it, but I also think somewhere in the back of their heads, they think they're going to be one of these people in the beauty community, as they're called, that's going to be striking it rich. And who knows, they might be. A lot of these people are. There's one that's not even that big that I just was reading an article lately about, and she makes $10,000 a week. $10,000 a week just talking about makeup. And again, she's no longer even buying most of this shit. It's being sent to her, and she is now getting sponsored. And, of course, that starts to muddy the waters. It's like, well, how honest is this review? But going back to that, I wish I could remember the name of that channel. But he got sent a phone case that was invented by this company, or designed and created by this company. And they sent him a box of cases, like, please review this. And he reviewed it and put the video up. And about a year or so later, the guy with the channel just happened to release his own line of phone cases. And they were like exactly like the phones that were from this company that sent that product to him to review. And then when people started looking into it, he very conveniently just happened to delete his review of that phone case. So there's this interesting ongoing situation involving, did he straight up rip that phone? Now he's like arguing that there are some slight differences, but it was really incriminating when he took that video down. Because why would you? Why would you go back and take down that one video that shows you unboxing something that looks an awful lot like what you just started selling under your own license? But yeah, influencers, good Lord. Will it ever end?
Who needs them? Am I right?
Mm-hmm. Well, I guess ASMR people. You could call them influencers, right? I don't know. Maybe there is a specific box that has to be checked. I definitely feel like anyone who's talking about a product or promoting a product, those are going to be influencers. But I don't know. I think just anybody who's got a following doing anything is now going to be called an influencer. But where before you would just call them a vlogger or a podcaster or whatever the fuck. Now it's all influencers.
There's probably metrics now. It's like you have to have so many followers to be considered an actual influencer. Like you probably have to have you have to have 50,000 followers or so. I don't know what the number is, but there's probably like a number, right? I'm sure they can quantify it.
Yeah, I'm sure there is.
Which is even more stupid.
Mm-hmm. It's a brand, and it's also followers. I know people that work in California that are into acting and shit like that. And instead of just going in and just doing a little quick thing and doing your lines proper and everything else, that's half of the interview. The other half is what they want to know, how many people are following you on your social media.
Yeah.
And you have to have
built-in audience.
and you have to have over like fucking 20,000 people on each. You know, it's insane. That's how people get hired nowadays.
Which is so stupid because everybody knows that you can drop some money at these follower bots, $20-$30, and all of a sudden you've got 10,000 followers overnight. So what use is any of it?
Yeah.
It's fucking bullshit. I know people that have clearly done the bot farm, and they brag about their followers. It's like fucking sad. It's sad enough to brag about your followers if they're legitimate. To
By
brag
the way, guys,
about
on a totally unrelated note, did you see we got like 7,000 new likes on How Bizarre podcast?
We are really rocking and rolling. Thank you, India. Yeah, good stuff. Anywho, here's a story that I came across that's essentially what I imagine happens when a fucking mega nerd goes through a nasty divorce, and that's 40-year-old Kansas man named David Ostrom requested in court, officially requested to the judge presiding over his divorce if he could challenge his soon-to-be ex-wife, Bridget Ostrom, and her attorney, Matthew Hudson, to a duel of swordplay. Now, here's what
Please tell me the judge said yes. Please tell me the judge said yes.
Well, what I found was interesting was apparently we have not outlawed dueling or trial by combat as a society. So I immediately ran to Google to look up the last time trial by combat in the U.S. Was done. It wasn't very clear, but by most accounts, it goes way back to like the 1700s. Britain as recently as the early 1800s. But after all these years, it still hasn't been outlawed. And Ostrom had just recently learned that, so he wanted to challenge his ex-ho to a deadly game of slicey-dicey. Not that dueling always ended in death. There was a sort of say uncle option, a tap out, if you will, and they referred to it as crying craven. So if you cried craven, you lost but could live. In shame as the little pussy bitch of the valley, but you'd be alive. Or sometimes you would just be wounded, and then the victor would be declared, and then you just walk away with your, one arm. And so it wasn't always about death, but I found it fascinating that all these years later, we still have not outlawed it. And so Ostrom was getting fed up with his wife fighting him on everything. The divorce wasn't going smoothly, and they weren't agreeing on custody for the kids or the house or the property taxes. And he claimed that her lawyer was purposefully stringing things along just to make, more trouble and therefore more money. So he approached the judge and said, quote, "I would like to meet them on the field of battle, where I shall rend their souls from their corporeal bodies."
Oh my God.
I hope the judge just said, "Nerd." But he did ask,
like, granted, gavel.
Next, he did ask the judge to grant them 12 weeks to prepare, to train and prepare, but more importantly, so he could properly procure true samurai swords for this rending of souls.
This is our hero of the week.
Yeah, it's
Let's
pretty
just
great.
Put it out there.
Well, hilariously, the attorney, Matthew Hudson, had to request that the judge decline the request of the sword duel with an official hearing. Now, interestingly, going back to your question there, Chris, the judge has not given an answer here.
God,
he did give this.
this up.
He did give this quote: "Until the proper procedural steps to initiate a court proceeding are followed, this court will take no further action concerning any motion, objection, or petition filed by either party at this time." Now, I know it won't happen, but imagine if this thing went through and this lawyer and ex-wife had to face this guy in a samurai. Oh, I had samurais last month. No, a samurai sword battle. You could easily sell tickets to this and pay-per-view. I would have watched them shit. Tally ho, ye wench, and thou butt fucketh attorney. I say tally ho. Wouldn't you watch the shit out of that?
Yes.
This could be a new chapter in civil law. If you guys aren't going to fucking agree on shit, then yeah, one of you go kill the other one, and then you get everything. I think we might just be heading toward that America, and I'm not entirely against it. Think of how much we clog the judicial system with all this bullshit, taking up all this time, and that's why the wheels of justice turn so slowly, and it takes you forever to get a hearing or go into small claims court or some of the paperwork you're trying to get to. It's all so clogged with bullshit like this. Imagine if you could just tell them to go fight it out, and the family shows up to root for survival. And, yeah, sell them shits on pay-per-view. Use that money to fund schools and pay for fucking roads and stop raising our goddamn taxes. I could get behind this all day long, son.
Well, I feel like they're you can always get people to fight for you the way that works.
Oh, well, that's a good point, because that was even included in the story, is that you could, but you couldn't get anybody. You had to get somebody within the judicial system that made sense for you. So this girl could have had her lawyer fight the other dude's lawyer. It would basically go something like that, as opposed to her saying, fine, I'm going to hire one of the American gladiators to come and fight you. It wouldn't work that way. But if you found a beefy fucking lawyer, I think I saw that on Pornhub one late Saturday, beefy fucking lawyer. Anyway, yeah, he is a hero. And that judge would be a hero if he granted them something that apparently is fucking legal. Like, what would be the controversy? Now, he couldn't order it. He certainly could not order it, but he could allow it by the word of the law. Go ahead, Lau.
Well, I kind of stepped out to grab a coffee. Was it samurai swords or was it like fencing swords?
Samurais. No, this was a duel to the death. Or again, to the cut. But she could have cried Raven. Or Craven, as it were.
Craven, yeah.
I'd cry Raven. Fly me away.
Yep.
And then lose her kingdom. Like, he would get everything. I don't know, man. I think this is fucking brilliant. I think it makes more sense than the way half the things are done.
Let's start a petition.
Yeah. How do you say, John Mark, how do you say it when you, fall on your sword? Is it Supaka?
That's there's like seppuku and harikiri.
Yeah, harikiri. It's sukuku. So, say it? I can't
Seppuku.
No, Sakuku is perfect.
Hey, guys.
I'm going to commit Sakuku. Hold on.
I just
cuckoo
feel like
for
I see
Sakuku
a lot
buffs.
We became like an arena fighting kind of ninja sword
Fucking
fighting.
gladiators. I mean, they did it back. They did it at one point. This is how they handled disputes. At one point, less than 300 years ago, this is how they handled disputes. In the civilized world, it's fascinating, and maybe it was a mistake to get away from it. It seems like a barbarian way of handling things, but we're a weird fucking people, and we're getting weirder. Maybe instead of influencing, we should be out there dueling and thinning out the herd, as it were.
That was only like 100 years ago. You'd do that.
Yeah. Just slap somebody with the white glove and tell them you said good day. Oh, shit was on then, man. Now you got to say something about somebody's mama. And maybe use a slur or two to really get shit cooking. But back in the day, a simple smack and a good day, sir.
You couldn't just throw a middle-aged man to the sidewalk and steal his cap.
No. That would be downright uncivilized. Oh, what a life I live. What a life we all live. Anyway, I got another one here. This will probably trouble Lyle. And this is a family in Houston claims to have been haunted over the past several years by an Elsa doll. From Frozen. And they picked the doll up sometime in 2013, 2014, something like that. And they immediately started seeing some strangeness with it. Like, it was just like moving around the house. They kept losing it, and it was appearing in other places. And it's a talking doll, but it would inexplicably bounce into speaking Spanish and then back to English. And here's a little clip of that right here, just so we can have the voice of the person we're talking about here.
No. Mm-mm.
There's something about that laugh. Now, creepy and weird, yes, especially if it just one Sunday afternoon, it inexplicably goes into talking like that instead of saying, let it go, or whatever it says, dialogue from the movie. But at the same time, it's not that crazy because I imagine that...
It sounded like it's Spanish almost.
Oh, that's what it is, yeah.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Translated, it said,
Hola, I'm here to kill you.
Very nice.
I knew it.
Very nice.
Why did it translate to hola?
Well, hola's hola, to be fair. But, you know, I imagine the factory has all sorts of voices programmed into whatever microchip is in there, and it's programmed, or it's switched to the right settings at the factory before being shipped out to the appropriate market. But other strange things started happening, too. They kept the toy around because the kids just liked it, but all the way up until a few weeks ago, actually, and then they finally decided it was time to toss it out, and they put it in the garbage. Simple as that.
I mean, who doesn't love Satan, right?
That's right. Well,
Satan.
the garbage was later taken out and, you know, to the road for pickup. Somehow, it ended up back inside the family's house, and they saw it. They came home from the mall or some shit and saw it sitting upright on a bench inside the house. Now, at first, of course, the parents were like looking at the kids like, why did you bring this thing back in? You said you didn't want it. The kids swore they didn't bring it in, and ultimately the parents believed them because they're like, there's no way our kids were going digging through the garbage, even for a prank. Like they just wouldn't. So this time they double bagged the doll and put it at the bottom of the trash bin, and they all actually watched. They waited and watched as that bin was collected by Waste Management. 2 days later, the youngest daughter found the doll leaning against the house outside in the yard.
Fuck, man.
Now they were starting to freak out. Like, the kids were crying. Yeah. Like, they were freaking out. And so the family took to Facebook to tell people what was happening. Or like, what is this? like we realized that we could be being pranked, but who the fuck would do this, and how would they do it? And so they were freaking out, and that got some local attention. Some local media came out, and they got a little footage of the haunted doll that wouldn't go away. And then someone eventually on Facebook suggested that they try mailing the doll out of their lives. And so they're like, all right, well, why don't we just try mailing it to Aunt Susie in Minnesota? And so that's what they did. They boxed it up and mailed it to Aunt Susie, or whatever the fuck her name is. And so far, the doll has stayed put in her new home. But the fam is keeping an eye out for anything bizarre. So, do not like the idea of, can you imagine throwing something out and you knew you threw it away? Anything, but a creepy talking doll on top of it just shows up, just chilling, sitting on the bench, upright, like she's waiting for you to hang out and watch The Simpsons.
Nope.
Nope.
So they maintain that this is no joke, no prank, and they don't know how anyone would be pranking them. Who knows? We shall see. Before we move on, did we ever get a concise entry on the whole Julie Strain death thing? John Mark, did you? It seems like she didn't die now.
I that's so weird. Like, I don't know, man. All those stories seemed legit, unless it was like the same story that a bunch of different aggregators just picked up, and I don't know, man.
Well, for anyone who doesn't know, Julie Strain is probably best known as a B-movie scream queen actress, but she's got an interesting career, and for a while she was married to Kevin Eastman, who was one of the two dudes that started Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And Kevin Eastman owned or was the editor of Heavy Metal magazine for several years.
I think both.
Yeah. But anyway, so it's not a household name by any stretch, but I believe it was Malibu Bay Films who first tweeted it, that we just got the confirmation that our dear friend Julie Strain passed away. Now, Julie Strain, when she was in her 20s, fell off a horse. I don't know if it was during shooting a movie or if it's just recreational, but it was a pretty traumatic brain injury. And, they told her, you're going to have issues with this as you get older. Well, apparently she's been suffering. She's in her 50s now, and she's been suffering with like early stages of dementia, which can kill you. I don't understand how dementia kills you, but
I think it's just, brain
care
damage that
yeah.
just like
but,
helps exacerbate situations like that.
Yeah. So not a lot of people know who this woman is, even though she's famous. But it jumped out to me, and I was like, oh, damn, Julie Strain died. And as I clicked on the story to read the story, it was like a 404. Like that story doesn't exist. So I went to Wikipedia, and it was interesting because when you Googled Julie Strain death into Google, and the search, you see the search results popping up, and it has like a little preview of the first paragraph of the Wikipedia page, and it said Julie Strain was an American actress, and I was like, fuck, she did die. But when I clicked on it to go to the Wikipedia page, it said Julie Strain is. Now Wikipedia is, I don't really know how it works, but I know the public have access to changing it. So, but then CNN said R.I.P. Julie Strain, and then like Hollywood Reporter and TMZ. And so it was everywhere. Like Twitter was lighting up, and Facebook, my feeds, because of the weirdos that I follow, were lighting up with tributes to Julie Strain. And then this morning, it seems pretty clear that she didn't die. And what? The interesting thing is, can you imagine, like, she got to see her own death to some degree. Like,
what the fuck happened? Was it a hoax? I mean, like,
Malibu Bay Films got information from what they called a trusted source that turned out to be incorrect. So they had every reason to think that Julie Strain was gone. And, these days everyone wants to be the first to break any story. So they felt that they had all the information they needed. That got retweeted and shared. And then within 6 hours, the entire world knew that Julie Strain was dead. But I follow, I'm friends with Lisa Petrucci on Facebook, and she owns Something Weird Video, this great Seattle-based company that releases all these old campy B-movies or, nudie cuties, stripper films, old movie reels from peep shows. And they put out albums with all the cool soundtracks from these crazy shows by bands that are unknown. It's a really cool little company. Her husband and her started it years ago. He died fairly young, I think 3 or 4 years ago, so she's single-handedly running it now. But she is friends with, was a photographer or somebody? I think it's a photographer, a well-known photographer that's friends with Julie Strain. And she reposted something that she said, like it was, friends, I promise you Julie Strain is not dead. I don't know where this rumor started. So she was the first one that I saw posting that it wasn't accurate. Then I started digging, and by then people were like, well, maybe she is, maybe she isn't. But all of the headlines were still Julie Strain dead at 56 or whatever. And tributes were coming out about her, like brief bios about who this woman was, what she did. And so it's weird that she died and then didn't. But if she's well enough today to read this shit, that was what really interested me. I was like, that's an interesting place to be in, where you can actually see your own eulogies across the world and see people discovering your death. I thought that has got to be a mind fuck.
Yeah, truly.
If she's there enough to enjoy that, I hope she does. Anywho, so far it seems like Julie Strain is alive. I don't know if she's alive and well. I couldn't get any accurate updates on her current health. It seems like either way she's not in good shape. Like that dementia is really taken hold, which is sad.
Yeah,
you never know what a traumatic brain injury is going to do to you years down the road. I think about it all the time. It was only 2014 that I got my brain bashed in. Now, it wasn't as bad as her, but you never know. Hers, when she recovered, but to this day, like she lost 2 or 3 years of memory. Like she could not remember anything from like 16 to 19 or something like that. It was just completely gone. Isn't that weird?
That's
How it
crazy.
could be that compartmentalized? Like you remember everything else, and you wake up and you know who everyone is eventually, but there's just a missing piece of information. Tricky. Are you guys familiar at all with the whole Prince Henry Megxit quote unquote thing that's happening?
Oh my God. What a fucking mess.
It is a mess, and it's fascinating. Now, this is not normally the type of thing that I pay attention to, but this is looking to be some like history-making shit. I guess in a nutshell, this tabloid fodder tale. Monarchs are weird. I don't really know how it's all connected. Duchesses versus princesses and dukes and all of that, and more importantly, what their role is in the royal family, because they're families. Yet it's the government. I don't really get it, but the story is actually making some of that clearer. And I thought, even though it's a bit convoluted, so Meghan Markle married Prince Harry in 2018. That was already a controversial thing because Meghan was an American actress, and so it was like a Hollywood fairy tale kind of thing. But it also ruffled a lot of feathers in gay old England. But with this marriage, she became the Duchess of Sussex. And with that came certain duties, of course, but it mostly seems to be a bit of a public relations type sitch where Harry and Meghan would do like charity work and TV appearances, that sort of thing. But they just announced that they plan to step down from those roles and as a part of the royal family proper and essentially become regular citizens, and they want to split their time between England and probably Los Angeles. They want to continue to do their charitable works, and Meghan likely wants to return to acting. But the reason this is interesting is it kind of hasn't happened before, and the Queen seems to have been caught off guard by it in their interviews, or her statements, I should say. She seems a little unhappy, but ultimately it appears like she's willing to grant them what they want and just cut them loose. But she did say, things aren't quite so simple. So we shall see. But the tabloids and mainstream papers alike are flying off the shelves with the story. And most of the angle is sort of treating Meghan like the Yoko Ono, if you will, like she's tearing the royal family apart just because she's homesick, or she wants to be more famous, or she wants to, return to acting. And also, Meghan is partially black. She's multiracial, and that made a bunch of people lose their shit because I guess traditionally it's been considered a no-no to mix royal blood that way. But also, I got to say, I'm starting to get into the deets of the story, and it's got a lot to it, and I may work on a show for it in the near future. But the reason I'm bringing it up is we get a lot of downloads in England. We always joke that we're big in England, but it's by far our biggest pocket of listeners outside the U.S. And I would like to put a call out to anyone over on that side of the pond, as they say. If you follow these kinds of things, or if you just know how the royal family actually works, I'd love for you to come on the show. If you're interested in that, send me an email at radarstationart@gmail.com. That's the best one for now. And, I don't expect... What's that?
A UK correspondent? I'm into this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I don't expect, experts or pundits. I know Thorny still listens. I don't know how much you know about this thing, Thorny, but I'd love to have you back on, talk about anything. That guy's got a very charming voice. Remember Thorny talking? We had him on. His episode was called Turkish Undelight. And then, of course, he gave us that interview with the unforgettable Sid.
Yeah.
But shit.
Yeah, that was crazy. That was one of our craziest, maybe literally, episodes of all time. But anyway, if you follow these stories and you'd like to chat about it, reach out. I would love to get you on the program and talk about this Downton Abbey-esque drama. And I found a couple of really good shortwave radio stations that I could barely tune in this far away. We get Asia and Russia way more clearly than what's happening on the other side with the shortwave. But you do get it occasionally in and out. And they'll just talk passionately about this one ordeal for like 6 hours. I was like, what station is this? What news organization is just dedicating its entire night to talking about it? But it's great for insomnia. And it's an interesting tale. And I get why I get tabloids in general. I get gossip rags, and it's not my thing, but I get them. But this one is really appealing because it's got all of those things and more. And the royal family is such a strange
Outdated
organization. It's a strange story. I mean, good Lord, it's the same queen that the Sex Pistols were gnashing their teeth at in 1977. That's the queen they wanted God to save. I always think that she's got to be 95 or something at this point. Charles ain't no spring chicken either. And I always, every time I see Charles, he's like a couple of years older than the last time I saw him. I'm like, he's just got to be walking around thinking, am I ever going to be king?
No shit.
Because that's how it works, right? I mean, he can't be king until she's dead, yeah? And then when she's dead, he's immediately king? I don't know how any of this works. You see, so we could use any of your, of course, we could just go to Wikipedia, but that's not fun. Everyone likes to hear English accents. So, give us an email, radarstationart@gmail.com. The sooner the better. We'd love to get somebody on here and talk about this hot story. Who knows how many new listeners we could attract by going down this gossipy, tabloidy rabbit hole. It's good shit.
I'm curious about it just because there was talk in the wind, like of kind of denouncing, the whole royalty part, because it's kind of outdated in a sense.
Yeah.
And this is just something I heard. I don't even know how true it is, but like about disbanding it and just kind of going and, forward.
Oh, you mean overall? That would be a major. That'd be a major uprising. I mean, sure. I guess.
Well,
all it would take is the family to just.
The royal family is only figureheads, anyways. They don't really have any power. It's
for
all
sure.
Of the.
Well, and I'm also curious if they're just going to denounce and say, well, if you're going to do that, go fuck yourself, and we'll just put somebody else in power. That kind of mentality, because you think it's such a long lineage that of something like that they would just say, fuck off, eat a dick, and we'll just have you.
I feel like the queen, the king and queen have to have some power. I get that. Prince Harry probably doesn't wield. I mean, compared to us, he's a pretty powerful figure. But I gotta imagine the queen has some say in some shit, right?
You'd think so.
I don't know. Like I said, I don't.
Not much, according to what my understanding of the situation is.
So is it like the prime minister?
It's all about parliament and prime minister and stuff. Yeah, the royal family is basically just for public relations.
What a strange thing. What would be the equivalent over here? I can't. We've tried to make royal families out of some of the sitting presidential families. That's the only thing that came to my mind, but it's not a good tit for tat, no pun intended.
It's not the same. It's not the same
because
thing,
they're not spokespeople for the nation. Well, they are, unfortunately. That's probably what they think of us. Yeah. But not officially, right?
Yeah.
You don't have to salute them when, and you're not going to go to prison for calling them a cunt. But anywho, yeah,
not really.
I'm kind of fascinated with all of that, and I did fairly recently start watching Downton Abbey. Not that it's about.
So good.
It is good. It's really fun. I don't know why I was just. It's Game of Thrones without all the gore and violence. Now I know that sounds
great.
It sounds terrible, but think about it. If Game of Thrones was only violence and tits, we would enjoy it for like one season. It's the politics and the stories and the interwoven relationships that made us keep coming back to that show. And that's when I was like just starting season 2, and I was like, why is this so gripping? And that's exactly what it reminded me of, was Game of Thrones in that way. So, if you haven't checked it out, I highly recommend it. I know it doesn't seem like I know that there are a lot of people that think that's not my kind of thing. I did for years and years. I heard people talking about Downton Abbey. I just thought, it was soap opera. And it is to some degree, but again, so is fucking Game of Thrones. So is True Blood. It just happened to have tits and gore. This just takes a very different approach to the same themes and, conniving and backstabbing and affairs and... it's really, really good. Politics, war. I mean, it sounds dumb because, of course, it's good. It was a very, very popular show.
It's all about class too. Like class, it's like an allegory. Not an allegory. It's not even an allegory. It's like straight up about like social castes and class standings and stuff like that. And
it's not allegory, but it works as allegory because it's easier to spot the class. Compartmentalization than I suppose maybe it is in modern America or lots of other modern cities because of all the ceremonious stuff, things that you just simply can't do. I mean, going back to pulling off your white glove and smacking a fella, acceptable. Fucking a fella's wife, well, tricky. It's got all the makings of a good story. I have no idea where it goes right now. It's World War I believe, but interesting shit.
So I will also say that the movie is also quite worth it once you finish all the seasons.
Yeah, that just recently came out, didn't it? Or has it been a while?
Just recently. But it's really worth it too if you watch the whole show to watch the movie, because it's like a nice little capper.
Okay, will do. Yeah, it's nice when it works that way, because the Twin Peaks movie didn't really act as a capper, but it's great. See, the X-Files movies. If the first movie, which is Fight the Future, that I think that movie was excellent. The second one I watched once and never wanted to see it again. I was so bored with it. But I'm trying to think of a show I haven't seen. I did watch the show Entourage, and it's a douchey show, but I found it enjoyable, especially where I was at in my life. I haven't seen the Entourage movie yet, though. You, Chris? Did you watch Entourage?
No, I only saw a few episodes, but I did find it wildly entertaining.
Yeah, it gets crazy.
Yeah,
like, it's really a fun one to follow along with, and especially streaming works really well with streaming. But all right, well, why don't we get on to you got something? You've been mixing it up a little bit, and I've been liking it, even though I haven't been doing quite as well.
Yeah, I like it too. I think it's really fun, and I'll still do weird trivia, but I like these lists. I need a name for this, Ron, and quite possibly a jingle.
Yeah, I'm thinking like let's see. Well, what do? We do like a top 20.
Yeah, it's like
best of.
Try to guess.
Yeah, pick my tops.
Getting listy
some
with
in
it.
there.
No. All right, today, guys, here's what we're doing. I got a
Chrysler's list. Crippler's list. That's a whole different show.
I don't want to be on the Crippler's list. Anyways, so I got a list here of the top 150 best science fiction action movies as ranked by people.
Okay.
So this is interesting. I'm going to give you one clue right off the bat. The top 11 movies were released in the 90s or earlier.
Okay. I would guess so, yeah.
Yeah. And the title really does capture all of these, a science fiction flick that probably has a little action in it as well, or even, borderline horror you can reach into.
Yeah, I imagine it's going to be a pretty broad category.
Okay, so last time we did this, I believe John Mark actually did the worst. So I'm going to make him go. He's going to get to go first. Get that first round pick. Ronster, you'll go second, and Lyle, you did the best last time, so you have to go last, buddy.
Oh, that's fine, because I'm gonna win it this time too.
Shit,
yeah,
look at the swagger this fool's got.
I'm just hearing all these movies titles in my head. So
yeah,
let's go.
Yeah.
All right. John Mark, hit me, baby. What you got?
So, since I get to go first, I'm going to have to go with in my opinion, one of my all-time favorite science fiction action movies, and probably one of my top 10 movies in general would be Aliens.
Oh, baby.
Aliens. Number 2 on the list. Well done, sir. A good pick early off. I haven't figured out how I'm going to score this yet, but I think what I'm going to do is top 20 are going to be worth points, and I'll just do that reverse scoring again where number one's worth 20 points and so on.
Seems to work well.
Yeah.
So just to be clear, this is not like highest grossing. This is a poll of the people. What is the best?
Poll of the people.
Okay.
Yep. The people that are into these types of movies. What's going to be the best for them?
Well, I'd be surprised if anything other than Star Wars topped this list.
Okay,
but
I need you to be more specific if you're going to go down that path.
I would go with, God.
Yeah,
I think the people would say Star Wars: A New Hope.
Let me find it.
Or Star Wars 4. You had to find it?
Well, so there's many movies on this list. Hold on just a sec. I was trying to do a search for it.
Clearly, it's not in the.
What you did
It's
import
not-
all that shit into an Excel spreadsheet?
Star Wars. Excuse me. Number 5 on the list. I just overlooked it. Number 5.
Crazy. All right. Well, that definitely changes my next guesses.
Oh, baby.
So that's a good one, though. I mean, there's the top 5 are good ones, I think.
Yeah.
But
That makes sense.
yeah. Okay, Lyle.
You know, we're dabbling in a genre that I enjoy the most, I think.
Oh, good.
Before he was Indiana Jones, this man was a Blade Runner. And let's go with
good
Blade
one.
Runner.
That wasn't even in my immediate
Sci-fi.
mind.
It's probably like 30, Boo.
Blade Runner. Number 9 on the list, good sir. It's a
Number
good
nine.
pick.
It does seem a little far down than I would like to see it.
It's okay.
John Mark, we're coming back to you, baby.
I'm going to go with one that I know a lot of people consider to be one of the best science fiction action movies of all time, and that would be Terminator 2.
Terminator 2, number 3 on the list.
Holy
Cha-ching!
shit.
Come with me if you want to live. You can do it.
Wow. Boy, there's two ways I want to go with this. I feel like... God.
I was waiting.
Okay, well, I'm going to go with my initial gut, but I'm starting to think that it might be wrong. I'll go with Empire Strikes Back, which most Star Wars fans believe is the best Star Wars movie. I'm one of them.
It's pretty good, yeah.
Star Wars Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back, sits firmly at number 4 on the list. Well done.
Oh, okay. We're filling in the 5. Well, I only got one guess toward number 1.
Yeah.
I'm not 100%.
Lyle.
To not go with the one I was going to go with, I'm going to go with one part of a trilogy, and I'm assuming the first one because the first one was really the best one, but The Matrix.
Ooh,
Lyle.
Good call.
That is the golden goose of this list.
No,
that is
you got
number
the
one.
Oh, my baby.
Really?
Wow. Well, fucking done. Yeah, Matrix as voted by the people. Number 1 on the list.
Yeah,
That
if
makes
you- if
sense.
you-
I can't
it
really
does
blame
make
him.
sense. If it was just
Yeah.
sci-fi, it wouldn't make sense. But sci-fi
With
action,
the title. Yeah.
that's kind of like the
exactly.
mother of sci-fi
Yeah,
action.
I mean, it changed things, you know? It was
It
a
is.
game changer.
Yeah, the,
Okay, excellent guess, Lyle. Okay, so we're 2 rounds in.
We've got the top
There's
5,
still lots
right?
of good. Yeah, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Correct. Let's see if you guys can fill out some of these other ones here. John Mark.
All right, now that the pressure of number one has been taken off my shoulders, I'm free to experiment a bit more since we have so many to choose from. I'm going to go with RoboCop.
No, it's on.
Yeah, that's a good action
Let me
one.
find it. RoboCop number 24 on the list.
Remember how
Not
shockingly
worth
violent
points,
that
'cause-
movie was when it came out?
I think it got an X rating in its original cut.
It's pretty fucking violent.
Yeah.
It's still, like, some of those scenes are still, like, troubling.
Yeah.
All right, no points for that one because it's beyond the top 20. I'm trying to keep my scoring as easy as possible here. Ronster.
Well, my guess for number 1 was going to be a movie that I'm starting to talk myself out of even being considered an action movie, but it's synonymous with sci-fi, so I got to put it out there, and that's the original Alien.
Number 6.
Oh,
Boom.
not bad.
Good points. Good points.
Not much of an action movie, but God, it's a perfect fucking movie.
It's so good. It's
That
one of my
movie,
favorites of all time.
When I was making Groom Lake, as stupid as it sounds, little backyard movie we threw together several years ago, I was watching Alien on a regular basis because I was trying to figure out how they built all the little sets and all the stuff. And they were one of the first, Star Wars was before Alien, but not by much. And Star Wars was one of the first to do this kit bashing, is what they call it, where they take apart, the phrase comes from taking apart model kits. Like you get a train set and you use the pieces, but you make other things out of them, like either a spaceship or a wall of the interior of a spaceship or something, just sci-fi texture. Well, Alien did that in fact, Star Wars, the Millennium Falcon was put together with kit bashing. And to this day, if you go back, maybe they've digitally airbrushed them out at this point, but when you watch
the Star Destroyers and stuff.
Yeah, all of that shit was. When you watch the original Millennium Falcon flying across the screen, if you freeze frame it, you can see, I think it's the Champion battery logo. That was like a decal. They left the decal on one of the little pieces, and you can see it right up in front of one of the pointy parts of the Millennium Falcon. It's amazing. But Alien did that stuff with old, like, airplane parts. So when you're looking at all this crazy industrial texture, you mix that with a little bit of smoke. God knows Ridley Scott loves his smoke. And the lighting in that movie is fucking miraculous. Fairly low budget, considering what they pulled off. And then, of course,
it feels epic.
Geiger's design. I mean, it's what was that movie missing?
Yeah, it had a
Nothing.
lot of good things.
No, Sigourney Weaver looking mighty fine in a little T-top, or what was it, like a cut in half shirt? And
Jonesy, the best cat in the world.
yeah, that gets one of the biggest scares in the whole movie.
We had,
Spoilers.
my brother and I had a cat that we didn't call Jonesy, but we called it Ripley in honor of Ripley's character, plus the cat in Alien.
Yeah, I named my dog after Ripley.
That's cool.
Then she would rip everything up, so it's very accurate. She's lived up to that name. Okay, we got plenty in the top 10 to go for sure.
Yeah, Lyle, it's your turn, buddy.
Ready. So this movie, you would have a real shitty time, and you'd want to go out on vacation and then have your mind altered into
on my
a
list.
whole place. And we're going Total Recall.
Get that
Let's do it.
It's a magical movie, man. 3 tits, eyeballs popping out of heads,
Makes me wish
little
I had
men growing
3
out of
hands.
guys' tummies. That movie's got it
Oh
all.
my god, it totally does. Number 19, you're gonna get points for that one. Boom.
Yeah, I do think it's becoming more and more culty, as opposed to like 20 years ago we would consider like one of the better movies. But I think it's being pushed aside by, other things.
Well, I got a lot of cable time too. When cable. You know how cable is. It'd play the same damn movie over and over again until you just got sick of it.
Yeah, that's how I know every lyric, every line from Top Gun.
Yeah.
I got
John
the Top
Mark?
Gun channel.
Let's see. Yeah, John Mark, what do you got, baby?
Well, I have some question in my mind as to whether this is one of the best science fiction action movies of all time, but I feel like it's probably up there in the top 20. Let's continue with the A Train, and I'll say Predator.
Oh my
Oh,
God, what
God,
a
why didn't I
fucking
think of
great
that?
choice. Such a fucking, that movie holds up for me, man. When I watch that, I really enjoy it. Number 8 on the list, John Mark. Well done.
Anything in jungles or forests tend to hold up a little bit better. You know what I'm saying?
And you know what? The soundtrack to that movie was phenomenal. The soundtrack through the whole thing, just the, like the fucking, you know what I'm talking about. Anyways, roster.
Well, John Mark called T2. I'm going to go T1, the original Terminator.
Number 7 on the list.
Yeah.
That movie was scary.
It scared me when I was a kid. I was like 7 when I saw that.
Yeah.
I'm going to go old school, and it's probably not on the list. If it is, it's low, but it demeans notice, and it's the original thing. The original thing?
Yeah, let me see.
The John Carpenter's one or the black and white one?
Yeah, because the
John Carpenter.
Yeah.
John Carpenter
that's a
one
good
is
pick.
33rd on the list.
No,
Good,
that's a
great
travesty.
pick. One of my favorites. Yeah, well,
That is a
yeah,
travesty.
you're right. I agree.
That
Yeah,
is like,
that's-
that was such an influential movie, too.
Yeah. Oh, well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree with that.
At least it's
I do
on
agree
there.
with that. Okay. John Mark.
How about Starship Troopers?
It is on the list. Let me
That's
find
a
it.
fun movie. Very
Great.
underrated,
Great
that one.
Pinball Machine, too. I saw it. Oh,
That's another movie that's got it all. Super gory, lots of tits and ass. I love
Ooh, I
that they have the co-ed showers. I was always
Starship.
enchanted by that.
Well, I don't know why you would be. That was number 25 on the list, so no points for
Oh,
that
wow.
one, but a great fucking movie. I'm surprised by that too. But we're up against movies like The Matrix, for fuck's sake.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Yeah, I suppose.
Well, and the generations too, because I mean, what we used to like as a kid, I mean, it's probably not on there, or it's low on the list. Because there's a lot of movies out there.
Yeah, that's why I'm. It's hard to say. So I'm just like, man, there's like movies that I would probably like. They're probably not on the list, or they're not scoring. That's the problem.
Yeah, I think it's about that time where we have to start thinking of other people's interests, and that's where I'm going with my next guess.
Which is what, good sir?
I'm going to go head it back toward the comic book era, which probably has to dominate some of that list. I'll go with Iron Man.
Man, that is not on the list, surprisingly.
That does
and I'm
surprise
not going to, but there is a bunch of Marvel stuff on here still.
Okay, well, that helps because that not being on there made me think maybe they didn't go comic book movie, but good Lord, the rest of the list could easily be the Marvel universe.
Yeah, but it's tough. Anyways. So.
Got to be specific.
Well, I got to shout out to our boy Kyle out in Yakima, Washington.
Ooh,
you know him from a couple
such
TV
classics
shows.
as Twin Peaks,
but also Dune.
Mm-hmm.
Because that was a
weird fucking movie, man. That was David Lynch doing Frank. What was it? Herbert,
yeah.
Yeah, Frank.
In a time where special effects were not great unless you had a lot of money. So that movie is really jarring to watch these days. But
it's on the list. It's quite low. It's 78, but I know a lot of people love that movie. I've never seen it.
Really?
You should, dude. You should watch it sometime. It's worth it.
Well,
like I said, though, if you didn't grow up with it, I think seeing it now will be super jarring in some way. But
I don't know.
It's enjoyable. It's a great.
In the altered state that Chris likes to get into before watching movies, I know he would enjoy it.
That's the world of Dune.
Did you know that Lynch was tapped to direct Return of the Jedi?
Mm-hmm.
And he turned it down?
Yeah, can you imagine?
What the fuck? What could he have done with the money that was behind the production level of a Lucasfilm at that time,
Yeah. I would have liked to have seen less Ewoks, ain't gonna lie. I bet Lynch would have given us less Ewoks.
You guys want to do one more round, or you think you're all tapped out?
I got a guess, but it's probably not going to be...
We got a little bit. How about we do, one or two more rounds?
Hit it.
We're about at 120.
Well, I'm just going to go with shit that I think should be high on that list.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
and
that's a fun way to do it.
And that's going to be Dredd, the Judge Dredd movie with Carl Urban.
Yeah, the later one. That was great. Weren't they going to make a sequel to that?
There's been talks.
Supposed to. Yeah,
that was great, especially for long time fans of Judge Dredd who suffered through the Sylvester Stallone
abomination.
Judge Dredd. And for a lot of people, for most people, I would wager that all they knew of Judge Dredd was the Stallone movie.
Which is I am the law.
10 minutes into the newer one, and it's like, holy shit, this is a Judge Dredd comic. Yeah, and that was a beautiful movie. That was one that I went back to see in 3D because I remember there's one scene where it's like, I need to see that.
That's exactly what you're talking about.
When going out the window.
Into that apartment.
With the glass and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yep. It's like, I need to see that in 3D. And now that I know the story, I can never see something for the first time in 3D, but I can go back.
Dredd was 32nd on the list.
Oh, Jesus, that makes me have to pick this next one that I hate. But I know a lot of people fucking loved. Some of them are on this program. And that is, it's my turn, yeah?
I know exactly where you're going with this, you motherfucker.
This started a whole phenomenon of people wanting to fuck blue people. And that is...
I thought you were going with something else.
Oh, did we finish? Yes. Was Dredd on the list?
Yes, it was like 32nd or something.
Okay.
Or 30, yeah.
38.
I know where you're going. Okay.
Yeah, we got to go with Avatar.
Yeah, Avatar. 13th on the list, Ron. You're still getting points, baby.
See, this is the thing. We got to start thinking of... although John Marks is much more fun because it's basically like us talking about our favorite sci-fi action movies. But do you think we're still at a place where when you give us the top 20 that we haven't chosen, we're going to be like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think there's
I
going to
already
be a few
know
for sure.
Okay.
There's stuff that I can't.
Well,
think of at the
let's
top
do
of
one
my
more
head.
round after Lyle goes, and then we'll see where we're at.
Well,
Lau, what you got?
the thing is, I can think of 10 right now that are probably on top 10 there. But what I'm going to go with is one of my all-time favorites that I used to adore and watch all the time on VHS was The Last Starfighter. Ooh, let's go.
Ooh, yeah.
Starfighter.
That's a fun
52nd on the list. Did make the list at least, though.
Right?
52nd.
I'm happy with that.
All right. John Mark? Pick,
So
buddy.
another one of my all-time favorite movies, which is not going to probably be very high on the list, is Buckaroo Banzai and his dimensions across the eighth dimension.
It's getting more love in the last 10 years, but yeah, definitely an underrated, underseen
Fucking love that movie so much.
It did make the list. It's quite low. It's 134th. But hey,
Oh, jeez.
got a little love at least.
Oh, which way do I want to go with this? Lyle's pick made me think of the ones that I loved back in the day, and there's a couple I can think of, but there's one that I would consider a little bit more action than the other. But I'm going to go with the one that was the bigger blockbuster. No one's going to think of it as an action movie, but it's such a big sci-fi movie. I got to go with E.T.
Oh, is that an action movie, though?
No.
At one time, they had pistols.
They're definitely chasing you around. Remember, they went back and photoshopped all the fucking guns and replaced them with walkie-talkies.
Yes.
Somebody was constantly chasing E.T. and Elliot. That's action.
True.
I don't expect it to be high, but it's got to be on there somewhere, yeah?
I am having a hard time finding it, mostly because I think the search function for that specific movie, because it could be E.T. If it's on here, it's
definitely not
very
an action
fucking
movie.
low.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It was a cash grab.
Yeah. Yeah. Lyle, you got anything else for me?
Yeah, you know what's stupid is that we haven't even touched it. And it's got to be up there because there's so many. It's like Star Wars. Had so many sequels. Was I guess the original Star Trek movie.
Yeah, I kept wanting to think of the right Star Trek movie, like which one would be an action one, but the Star Trek movies are very slow.
How about the Khan one? What was that for?
I think that's the one that
The
would
Wrath
be in
of
people's
Khan.
heads the most. That was
Star
2.
Trek 2.
That was number 53 on the list.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Star Trek movies are pretty slow. The newer ones, I guess.
All right, give me a moment to tabulate some points here. Talk amongst yourselves.
I don't think we have to. I think John Mark got it.
The other one that I was leaning toward from my youth was the Flight of the Navigator. God, I loved that movie.
That was a good one.
And let's see, what else? Any others that are at the top of my head? Throw some out. In terms of comic book movies, I can't think of any of the Marvel ones. I guess Spider-Man I should have thrown out, but is that sci-fi? I think X-Men has to be on there somewhere. I would consider that science fiction.
God, I need a fucking calculator. I need a better way to do this.
But I'm sure all the Marvel, like Thor and Avengers and all that shit might be on there. But see, like things like Batman, Superman, I don't think of those as sci-fi, so
No.
it's hard to say how people might answer those.
Almost have an answer for you
That's
guys.
pretty good. I think we hit the majority of the bullseye.
Oh, yeah, we definitely kicked most of the... We got the top 5. We didn't get a ton in the top 10. We got like 7, I think. Is that as far as we got?
Oh, there's a ton of good space movies, too, that are just out there.
Okay.
Or not that old. Like,
Okay, sorry. Well, you ended up with 40 points. I just basically... So if you guessed number 1, you would get 20 points. And if you guessed number 20, you'd get 1 point.
Gotcha.
And everything in between. So Lau ended up with 40 points. John Mark had 47. But Ronster, you had so many picks in that top 15 that you got a shitload of points. You got 58 points, man.
Nice.
Yeah.
I did not. I thought I'd do well, but I didn't trust myself against Lyle and John Mark for a science fiction movie.
What was the sequel to Aliens that was the last one?
Well, there's one
Prometheus.
after Prometheus.
That on?
There was another one. You guys want to hear the top 30?
I thought it was great. Yeah, let's do the top 30.
Top 30, and I'm not gonna say the number. 30 was Stargate. Then we had somebody. They actually
Stargate's
put
a
the
great fucking
Matrix
movie.
2. I wasn't fond of the Matrix 2. That surprised me. Mad Max. Rogue One, a Star Wars story.
Yeah.
Interstellar, Starship Troopers.
Oh, that was a beautiful
RoboCop.
movie, too.
Captain America, The Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
Fucking great movie. Men in Black.
Oh,
Serenity. Yeah.
Serenity.
Star Wars Episode 6, Return of the Jedi. Total Recall. Edge of Tomorrow. I fucking love that movie.
Oh,
Have
is
you
that
all
the Tom
seen
Cruise
that?
one?
I don't know if I've
Yeah, where with
The-
Emily Blunt, where they just keep dying over and over again.
Yeah,
and
that
reliving
is
the
a
day.
great. That's a great movie. Great concept,
fucking-
anyway. I
I've
remember
been meaning
enjoying
to
it.
do a rewatch, but I haven't.
Yeah.
I just haven't. I keep forgetting.
You know, we need to do what we've always talked about. Once a month, we all watch the same movie, and the entire episode is us talking about that movie. It can be current. It could be 50 years old. It could be a cult movie. It could be a horror. It could be a documentary. We just need to do that. I think it'd be fun.
It's like book club.
It's our book club,
movie club,
yeah.
and, we should
And everyone
we
can
should
do
all
it with
get
us.
to pick- Yeah, that'd
we
be
tell
great.
people what we're going to watch, and they can listen along with us.
At 17, Inception. Independence Day.
Did you ever think about doing that as a Patreon thing?
We can talk
Ooh.
about that later. Yeah, that's not a bad idea.
At 15, Avengers Infinity War. Back to the Future.
Wow. None of us thought about Back to the
Avatar.
Future, although it really doesn't feel actiony, but it deserves somewhere on that list.
At 12, Guardians of the Galaxy. Jurassic Park. At number 10, The Fifth Element.
Oh yes, one of my
there
faves.
are a lot of
Yeah.
familiars.
It's a good one.
That is a great one.
At 9, Blade Runner. Number 8 was Predator. 7 was Terminator. 6 was Alien. 5 was Star Wars, which we got. And then you got the top 4, Star Wars and The Empire Strikes Back, Terminator 2 Judgment Day, Aliens, and The Matrix was number 1.
Wow, The Matrix tops that very impressive list. I feel like it's fair. Again, if it was science fiction only, I would have issues. Science fiction action, yeah, I'm fine with that. I'd also be fine with Aliens topping that list. Because while Alien, not really an action movie, more of a horror thriller.
I agree with that.
But Aliens was non-fucking stop. Yeah.
Oh, Chris, you need to look that up. They got that in VR.
Oh, no. I pooped my pants, man.
You don't get it. So-
VR
got
stands for very runny, unfortunately. This really makes me want to dig through my
Why?
VHS collection, which I have many. A lot of them are here in the studio where I record. But God, some great movies there that I haven't watched Predator, the original Predator, in probably 20 years. That seems
Same.
That seems unright.
Seems
But
like
see,
a-
this is what we could do.
Hold up.
We could pick some of these older movies. We could pick some of these new fandangled right out of the theater movies. But I like the idea of doing it as a book club, and we give people heads up. Like, okay, next week your homework for this week is to go and watch this movie if you haven't already seen it, and the entire show will be us talking about it. The pros, the cons, what we liked about it, other films that it reminded us of, or other recommendations. If you liked this, then you'll love that. I think that sounds like a good time and a nice change of pace for everybody. The How Bizarre Movie Club. Let's do it.
Cool.
I'm in.
I'll take your delayed enthusiasm. Well, tune in next week. We shall be talking about 911. How about them shits? Likely to be a crazy, crazy story. Actually, I'd be interested in doing a story on 911, like the history of how emergency calls. Yeah, because at one point it was like you dialed O. I feel like that was even in our lifetimes, right? Like mine and
operator.
like our life, where you would dial 0 and then say you needed help, and they would patch you through.
Yeah.
I feel like 911 was not that long ago that it was invented. Like I feel like it was in our lifetime, in the last 40 years.
Interesting.
See, that could be a little tidbit. That could be a pleasant, along with the grim. And again, if you are in England and you are following this, I don't like to use the word Megxit. I guess it's Megxit. Megxit would be Mexico sawing itself off of
Seceding from
the
the
fucking
Union.
continent of North America, which I wouldn't blame them. Because it does, I don't think that this, the funny thing is, people are really passionately weighing in on this, of course, but kind of a sexist thing too. It's like where a lot of people are looking at, well, it's all her getting in there and getting her filthy paws on the royal family, and then just wanting to make a scene, and then exit. I see it as the complete opposite.
Sexist and it's racist and it's just horrible.
Well, what I hope it is that these two people are realizing that, oh, this is bullshit, and we can actually go make a difference somewhere else, or it doesn't have to be that grandiose. This is bullshit, and we can go actually live a regular life doing what we want to do and not have to put up with all this pomp and circumstance. And a lot of people are like, well, are they going to get money from the royal family? Because apparently that will be some sort of violation. Like they couldn't walk away from their duties if they're still getting paid to be the quote, unquote, royal family. But then there's all the drama. And we got to talk about the other princes involved here because there's drama with that too, going all the way back to the day. But anywho, please email radarstationart@gmail.com. Or if you have a show idea, suggestion, if you want to be on the show, if you got a spooky story, anything you want to send, booby pictures, we do get those from time to time. We've only got a few dick pics from fans. I did ask for them, though, to be fair. That was when we were doing the nude show. We got 7 or 8 listeners that sent in nude pictures, and 2 of them were male. Anyway,
One of them was me.
and 2 of them were Christopher. Here's me in the morning. Here's me at noon. From the left side. But,
Here's a headshot with Chad.
All right, y'all. We'll
Good
see
night,
you
guys.
next week. Why wait? I'm ready. I'm ready to watch some fucking movies. Wow, I usually have to fake the zip sound. Someone just zipped a Zorro's dick. Zip, zip, zip. Shoing.
I was putting my Switch away.
Is that what the kids are calling it these days?
Are we all done?
Yeah.
Oh, good.